Husband's female friend. Did I do the wrong thing? Need an outside perspective. Hi, first of all, sorry for the long post. I wanted to be as thorough as possible. Also, English isn't my first language, so there might be some mistakes that I didn't catch. Husband 29M and I 29F have been married for 6 years and have been friends for 11 years total, no kids. All of it started around April of this year. Husband reconnected with an old, female, friend from high school who he hadn't talked to ever since. They began talking, even had a couple of calls, and I didn't think anything of it at first. Husband has always had more female than male friends. He's kind, very anti-macho man, and easygoing, so I understand why women feel comfortable around him. This isn't an issue. When we began dating, he introduced me to his female best friend at the time, and she was a blast, zero bells. But now, with this girl from high school, something felt different, and not entirely from husband's side. The thing is, I've never been insecure of our relationship or his friends, but then I began to notice these little things. She'd call him bestie, say these exact phrases to husband too: "You're the only one I can talk to, don't disappear on me, you're the only friend I ever had." She would also send pictures and videos of what she was doing, from work, outfit pics, selfies, and even a few mirror pics and a video showing off her room. Another thing she said that felt odd to me was that she has severe social anxiety, so after being alone in a new country for about 7 years she didn't have a single friend, just 2 acquaintances, her words. She had a lot of stories like that, all of the very bad things that have happened to her and how everything always seems to go wrong. I couldn't tell if she was being honest or if she was fishing for some pity party. Later then I learned that when they just began reconnecting, and he told her he was married, she responded with, "I'm glad for you. You know, I think you don't remember this, but I had a crush/liked you back in high school. I even sent you a long text about it before I moved abroad and you just responded with something like, 'Oh, thank you for telling me,' and never said anything else. I got embarrassed and deleted everything." This big text confession was sent right before she left to live abroad. Mind you, they hadn't talked since high school, and she was moving away about 5 years later, so it was all this time without hearing from her, and then she sent that. Now, I met her twice, and she seemed nice, but then she was making plans over the phone to do silly, harmless-looking things with husband one-on-one, like, we should have a picnic, buy desserts, and share them over a movie, buy air-drying clay and sculpt figures, and poorly paint each other. These are all plans she suggested. This also seemed off to me because while she acted nice, she never tried to include me in on these plans. They never actually did any of it, and it all went on and off for a few months. For a while husband even stopped talking to her because she's always complaining about something bad going on. It's a lot. I don't like it. Eventually they resumed talking though, but she still made me feel uncomfortable somehow, and I realized I was starting to feel jealous and a little insecure, which I have never been prone to, so it surprised me at first. After a few weeks I brought it up with my husband and he assured me she was just a friend and it was nothing to worry about. He was also surprised because I've never been the jealous type. Despite me bringing it up, the situation didn't change much. They just seemed to talk less, but her attitude was the same. I tried to work through it by myself, sought advice, read a lot, wrote down my feelings, and even talked to a close friend of mine for outside perspective. I only brought it up once again, but the conversation kind of diverted from its course, so it wasn't really helpful. Despite this all, I couldn't bring myself to like her at all. Now, this is important for context. When I decided to bring it up the first time, he said something that had me thinking, said, "I thought something like this might happen, because it happened before." He had a very controlling, intense and kind of mean girlfriend in high school, and when she saw husband and this same girl being friends at the time, she forbade him of talking to her altogether, and because husband was 13, young and malleable, he just stopped talking to her and ignored her in class. Thing is, this past mean girlfriend forbade him of talking to any girls at all, not just her. I knew of this mean ex-girlfriend already, just not in this context. Then, last Saturday, as husband was in the bathroom before we went to bed, his phone chimed with a notification, and when I looked, without ill intentions, my eyes just skimmed the sudden lit-up screen. I saw her name pop up and the open chat sitting there, and once again it was a longish text of her saying how she could only talk to him about her issues, and how thankful she was to have him back in her life. The thing is, most of his answers were fairly platonic, maybe 1 or 2 that made me frown a little, but nothing worth worrying about. He listens to people, so I really do understand that she'd feel comfortable talking about what issues she's got going on. Still, it seemed that she was putting all of her emotional weight on him. She had okay moments too, where she acted with what seemed to be purely platonic intentions, so it made me wonder if I was reading too much into it at times. Still, it was reading that text that sent me spiraling down a terrible rabbit hole of negative thoughts. I spent the entire night up, unable to sleep at all, and brought it up with husband once again the next morning. I'm as transparent as one comes with my emotions, so he took one look at me and asked, "What's wrong?" Except I wasn't calm and meek like the previous times. I was a mess. I told him everything, my fears, how I have been dealing with my own emotions and thoughts regarding this for months now, how I'm sure he doesn't see it, thinks it is all platonic, and how I trust him, but it's her that was too much, especially because she seemed cloaked under this poor harmless girl attitude. I got a little worked up towards the end, but we sat down and he said, "Talk, tell me everything." So I did. He was quiet for a while and then said very clearly that I am his priority and that he'd never put anyone above me, also that he's sorry anything he said at one point hurt me, even if it was by accident, and that if I'm so upset about this girl then he'll just stop talking to her. Now, part of me wanted that, part of me felt relieved to hear that, but I am too self-aware to not see how that can be damaging to our relationship in the future and create resentment, and I told him so. Still, he assured me, with very little words though, that it was the only thing he could do, but that he didn't know what else to say about it, but also that, at least, he was glad that I spoke to him and didn't keep this bottled up inside any longer. I understood him not knowing what else to say, because, to him, this came a little out of the blue because I had been swallowing my emotions for months instead of properly talking to him. Today he seems perfectly fine, yet I can't help but to feel guilty about this. Husband doesn't have many close friends and he seemed happy to be getting close to this high school friend again, but she didn't seem as harmless as she made herself to be. I just don't want to be like his controlling old high school ex-girlfriend. Lastly, I'm debating if I should talk to him again and ask him about how he feels sometime this week, after he's had time to process it better, though I don't think he'd say much, he's never been big with words. Or if I should just let it go and work on improving our relationship and trust. Update. I wasn't sure how to do an update, so I just made another post grinning face with sweat. Hi everyone. Thank you all who took the time to read and replied to my post. It felt incredibly validating to know that so many of you understood my point of view and that I wasn't being controlling as I feared. I've been doing some thinking, and now that I have told husband everything, it feels as if I can finally look back in hindsight and notice things that I was trying to convince myself were harmless. I thought my anger and frustration was unjustified, but if I never cared about any other female friends, why would I suddenly be so bothered by this one if I didn't have a real reason? Because she didn't act like just a friend, she wasn't incredibly upfront, as I've read other stories in here where the new friend almost immediately went for a confession and a let's run away together plan, WTH, but it was as if her small actions were an attempt to chip away at my marriage. All hidden under a false pretense. That or she's really clueless and didn't realize what she was doing. I know some people latch onto others as a trauma response, and she's gone through terrible things, and it seems that the only friendship she ever made back then was with my husband. Still, she needs to seek proper help then. And if that's not the case, then she really needed to go. Even if she believed herself to be completely innocent, the way she acted implied the opposite. I decided to talk to husband one more time, just to make sure my point came across properly, though I never suggested he should stop talking to her, but when I told him everything that's been bothering me, his immediate response was to stop talking to her. He didn't phrase it as "do you want me to?" but as "she upsets you, so I won't talk to her anymore." So it feels good somehow to know that I didn't put these words in his mouth and that he offered to end the friendship himself. Still, I wanted one last conversation to let him understand my reasoning, now that I feel better and will be able to talk about it without being a mess, and so that he had time to process his emotions. It went okay. Honestly, he listened and said he's seem okay these days because he's truly been okay. He's not upset about the friendship, and the only thing that did upset him was that I bottled up my emotions for so long. Told me we need to tell each other how we feel. You need to tell me these things. If something upsets you or hurts you, I want to know. Thank you all for your comments, they really helped me think clearly. Sorry the update took a bit. I wanted some time to process the whole thing.